Hey, everybody, you're listening to WAYO 104.3 FM Rochester. Coming up on the Sound of Tomorrow show, we've got, we're going to talk about student loans. We're going to talk about Google and your personal information. We're going to talk about Eid Mubarak, which is super fun. And those are all the things we're going to talk about. More or less. Give or take. You know how it is. We like to keep it loose. That's what's coming up next on the Sound of Tomorrow. WAYO 104.3 FM Rochester. But first,
Ross, help! I'm in a multiverse of madness.
okay, who of the what now?
Multiverse of madness.
Isn't that a little ableist? And also what now?
Fair point. I'm in a multiverse of Mashiachs.
Okay. Well, you're not Jewish, so that's possibly appropriative? Maybe? I don't know.
Fair. I guess I'm in a multiverse. Whatever, it's not important. The point is, I'm seeing various multiversal wave functions made manifest.
Well, sure. But what now?
I think I'm being shunted through various alternate universes, Ross.
Ooh, like the evil mirror universe in Star Trek?
I guess. Kinda, but more of them.
Okay, so now that makes it clear. You just had to explain it to me scientifically. Jeez. But speaking of science, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Heather, so what's yours, Sugar Bean?
Well, okay, the first thing is my socks.
Ooh, you're wearing those cute green ones you like.
Except that I put on a red socks this morning, Ross. Red!
Okay, well, I mean, isn't that something you might just have forgotten?
Am I likely to forget which color socks I put on?
Okay, I mean, yesterday you forgot why you woke up in my hedges wearing a naughty Freddy Krueger costume from Party City. So forgetting doesn't seem wildly out of character, no.
Oh, that reminds me. Do you want that outfit back?
I very much do, yes.
Well, you can't have it because it's now a sexy Chucky costume. See what I mean?
Wow. I mean, that's weird, but these things seem, I don't know, they seem fairly trivial to involve multiversal travel, don't they?
Well, you see, one way of reading the many worlds interpretations of quantum mechanics, also known as the relative state formation as proposed by Hugh Everett in 1957, suggests that each discrete event, no matter how insignificant, forms the basis for its own independent, self-sustaining universe. So, for instance, if I wear green socks, poof, that's one universe. If I wear red socks, that's another. The universal wave function is therefore objectively real and explains how there can be no collapse of said wave function.
Naturally, yeah.
But there's another view that says the only significant events cause splits into independent universes. So the color of my socks wouldn't be important enough to create multiple self-sustaining universes. They'd just be blips that would collapse back into the original timeline.
Well, duh. I mean, you doesn't know that. So which of those quantum-y thingies are you in?
Yeah, beats me. But I haven't shown you the wildest part yet.
What is that?
That, Ross, is Nigel.
Heather, that is a calico cat. And Nigel is 100% white. Everybody knows that.
Some Nigel in some universe, maybe. But now I'm in some kind of wackadoo quantum realm of Red Sox and calico cats. Multiverse of madness. Not because of the mental health illusions, but because I'm kind of angry.
Well, jeepers. Wow. I don't know what to tell you. That is wild. I would be mad too, I guess. I'll tell you what. Let me talk to my people, and we'll see if we can get you sorted. You know, back to your correct universe or whatever.
Oh, thanks. Wait, you have people? Since when do you have people?
Well, yeah. I mean, like, you know, the FBI, the CIA, Homeland. I guess this would be maybe a NASA thing? I don't know. This is a new one for me, so I'm not sure.
You have NASA's phone number?
Yeah, hello. I mean, the president of the United States always has NASA's phone number. Somewhere around here. I don't know. I just have to see where I put it. Hold on. Just give me a...
And
I know I have it.
The president of the United States?
Yep.
Multiverse of madness!
Stop saying that.
I'm really mad, though.
I don't blame you.
Anyone would be.
It's really annoying.
So annoying.
You
Nigel
don't even
keeps
know what
changing
socks you've got
color.
on.
I might not even be wearing socks in the next one I visit. What if I'm just barefoot?
Right. I don't know.
Gross.
Oh my gosh. Oh, gross. Hey everyone, I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host.
And I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power. Welcome back to the Sound of Tomorrow on WAYO LP Rochester.
It's new, it's blue, it's the place where the people go when they talk about things.
That's right, and that will be the bumper sticker for the WAYO 2023 fundraiser.
Sure, that and's just going to trail off. That's just going to be some ellipses.
Yeah, we're actually going to get custom cut stickers, and the and is just going to kind of fall off the edge.
Right.
So it'll be like a beautiful, clear rectangle, but then there'll just be like this bloop coming off of it with the and just kind of like smooshed down in the corner.
I hope everyone appreciates my marketing legerdemain.
They love it. I mean, you didn't spend like 8 years getting that PhD in marketing to not use it.
That's true. Heather, you know what I want to share with you? I want to share with you something special today.
What do you want to share with me?
Today, let's pretend, because it's time travel, let's pretend let's go back in time 2 days to Monday, May 2nd, shall we?
Yes, I'd love to.
Oh, now it's Monday, May 2nd. Today's Google Doodle. You know how they do the Google things with the thing, and it's animated sometimes, and there's a whole thing.
I do.
To celebrate hip hop, they had a whole game where you made hip hop things and learned about hip hop, and it was very exciting. And
that
I missed that day.
Fun.
I missed that day very much. But so this is, you know how we always talk about how ridiculous it is that there are so many efforts to redact and ignore so many parts of history, particularly American history. And I think the reasons for that are self-evident, but also because it's never been that great. It's not like, we was talking about this. It's not like, oh, it was so great, particularly, I'll get specific with the example I'm using here, particularly when it comes to Black Americans. It's not like it was ever that great, right? It's not like there was a golden age when we were in school and we learned about all the important Black Americans. No, we learned about like 2. So I didn't know this. I thought this was sort of fascinating. So today, the Google Doodle, today, May 2nd, because we've traveled back in time, of course.
As we do on this show.
As we do, is celebrating Elijah McCoy, who was a revolutionary Black inventor who was born 178 years ago today, being May 2nd, because we've traveled back in time, of course. We haven't traveled back in time to his birthday. That's too far, but we can do 2 days. So... So starting off, have you ever heard of this person?
I have not.
Okay. So this was a Black inventor. Parents had escaped slavery. They'd moved to Canada, and then Elijah McCoy traveled to Scotland to study mechanical engineering, like you do. Then returned to his family. They were now living in Michigan. But even though he had a even though he had a good background in mechanical engineering, he couldn't get a job because, of course, he was a Black man. So he got a job as a fireman. Part of his job was to lubricate a fireman for the Michigan Central Railroad. Part of his job was to lubricate the engine components. So I guess at the time, and don't ask me to explain the mechanics of this, but apparently at the time, and the engines had to be... like every time they stopped or paused or stalled, they had to be lubricated before they could be restarted. So they were constantly having to lubricate the engines. So he came up with this idea for basically an automatic lubrication system that would sort of keep things lubricated without intervention. Don't ask me what that involved. I wouldn't know even if you showed me a diagram. I wouldn't get it. So it's fine.
I'm not bright enough for that.
But I guess this was a huge thing, and it was very popular. It was something that people sort of referred to as a McCoy. So the etymology of this is, as with a lot of etymology, it's slightly fuzzy. So this isn't 100%, but it's believed, at least by NPR and then other sources that I sort of looked up to dig into this a little bit further, that the phrase "the real McCoy" comes from this person's invention because people wanted the actual... they wanted his thing, not knockoff versions. Again, just a fascinating little bit of trivia. Well, I mean, is
Yes.
it trivia? I guess it's technically trivia, but it's also kind of a cool, important piece of American history that I didn't know about. And I don't know, I like etymology anyway, so that's what
Hmm.
jumped out at me. I'm like, oh, origin of a word or a phrase.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
I really
You know,
like that, especially when it's something that you've heard and you know exactly what it means, but then when you start thinking like, but why? What is a
right,
McCoy?
right,
Why that? Like everybody
right.
knows like that's the genuine article, but so now we know. And knowing is half the battle. I love that.
Absolutely. So thank you, Google.
That's awesome. Well, we're still here on the 2nd of May. Do
Because
you
we've
want
traveled back in time.
because we traveled back in time. Do you want to talk a little
Yep.
bit about Eid? Because that is
Uh,
today.
sure.
I saw a kind of an article that maybe gave me a little something to think about on NPR today. And it's by Rafat Malik and it's entitled like Christmas Eid is being commercialized and that's a welcome thing. And it kind of goes through how, you know, as a Muslim kid growing up in England, the author around Christmas time would start feeling kind of bad and like missing out, like FOMO, because
Hmm.
they didn't have a holiday that they could like go to the store and spend a ton of money on a whole boatload of decorations and like make up their house and everything. And the author says that that's pretty common for Muslim kids, especially because, you know, the kids get all excited about the decorating, but adults too. And
Yeah.
what I learned from this article is that suddenly all kinds of stores up to and including Target have like Ramadan and Eid decorations for their homes. They have Ramadan and Eid themed gift cards to give to each other. And it's something that a lot of stores have taken to kind of cashing in on commercializing another religious holiday.
Yeah.
And for me, this is one of those where thinking about it, I'm not Muslim, so I guess I don't really have a horse in this. Except we've talked about this commercialization, good or bad thing, quite a few
Hmm.
times, up to and including like Pride, and how you can
Right.
go to Target and you can spend hundreds of dollars on your Pride decorations, your Pride shirts, and everything. So I think I'm having that similar kind of train of thought in regard to this, like gosh, I know the stores just want people's money.
Yeah.
Like, this is not, maybe there's some corner of it, some echo of it, some very small facet that really is like, hey, in the US, we really don't necessarily treat Muslim people very well. Maybe if we get lots of Ramadan and Eid gear here in Target, it'll make people go like, "Oh, how pretty," and want to learn and accept. Just like all the rainbow stuff at Pride time. And I think that that's good, but I'm not naive enough to think like, oh, Target, they have the best interests in the Muslim community in mind, and they want to make everybody see all the pretty decorations and go like, hey, I actually love Muslims now.
Yeah, yeah, and well, and I think, like with pride stuff, I mean, it's hard to you figure. I guess the nice thing there is, and everybody comes to regret this commercialization. Like whenever you're jealous of something else that's commercialized and you see a lot of it, like I think I think it always gets to a point where you're like, okay, enough, I got it. But like with pride stuff too, it's not necessarily, the nice thing isn't necessarily that the organization decided to put out stuff that they could sell. I mean, sometimes there's bravery there. I mean, sometimes it's being a little progressive and saying, we're going to do this regardless of, we're going to do this, or maybe we're going to do this to build a future market, even if it's not there now. And that's something. But I
Mm-hmm.
guess the nice thing is when you get to a point where you can do that and then people don't get mad about it. Like, because if, if stores had, and there were times when this would have been the case, if stores had pride stuff, or if stores had stuff for Muslim holidays or whatever, you would lose more business than you'd gain, in certain circumstances, because people would be like,
Yeah.
white Christian, non-gay people, or whatever scenario we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't go there. They'd be really mad about it, and they wouldn't shop there, and they'd be mad about it. So
Yep. And we
it's,
have
the
seen
night.
that with like when Target went and put all the toys in one aisle that was toys for children, and people lost their ability to think straight.
Well, and people still protest stores over, pride stuff, especially, I can speak to that. But so, and people still like refuse to shop at stores that have pride stuff. And that's still very common, but it's less common than people who either are happy about it or don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So, that sort of represents a little bit of a shift or a turning point. It's not so much the business is doing anything brave. It's that society's gotten to the point where the business can do that and find it marketable and, make money on it and have not lose business from people being so mad about it, which is, you know, it's okay. It's not a terrible thing.
Yeah, it is of interest now that you point that out. There's nothing in this article, not saying it's not happening, but there's nothing in this article that talks about a backlash to, for example, Target having lots of Ramadan decorations and stuff,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Another thing that's really good about this commercialization is it says in the article that commercializing Muslim holidays also means supporting thousands of Muslim-owned small businesses, many which in many instances are run by women. And it gives
Yeah. I
some,
mean, I would say that's one of those things that tends to turn really quickly.
yes.
Because the small businesses quickly give way. Once it becomes once something once merch comes up through small businesses, and
Mm-hmm.
but once the Targets and the Walmarts and whatever get a taste of it, then it's suddenly,
Well,
so
I
that's good.
know.
I think that tends to be a short term benefit, but
I think
good.
it does because with all kinds of things we've seen where independent craftspeople, then their ideas are co-opted or sometimes in good situations purchased,
Hmm.
in a lot of situations downright stolen,
Yep.
by companies that have the power to make these things much, much, much more cheaply and maybe not as nicely as they were when they're handcrafted, but
Right.
nevertheless, they can really pump them out.
So I mean, I guess the maybe the best thing to do is try to stick with small businesses for your bride slash Ramadan slash
Yeah.
needs. Um, and then maybe
And
that's maybe then everybody wins.
yeah, and you're right about that. I know I am not always responsible in that fashion.
Oh, me neither. Either.
And definitely, like, if you get me in a Target, I might walk out of there with something rainbowy. Why
Yep.
not? It's right there and it's
Yep.
cheap. but
Right.
but it's interesting to think about for me because I feel like back in the day I used to do a lot more of like, oh, it's a sellout. Oh, it's so commercialized now and kind of poo poo that. And now to find myself thinking in ways like, gee, this is maybe good because at least if like you go to Target and you're seeing all this stuff for maybe not straight holidays, maybe not Christian holidays, like that's kind of nice, I think.
Well,
For
well, and it demystifies it too. I think even if you're not someone who's looking for even if you're not someone who's looking for things like that, it's you're exposed to it. It's
mhm.
sort of, even if it starts to blend into the background, well, it's not something it's not something people are seeing and getting angry about. Little kids, maybe they're getting an education because they're seeing these things in stores that they otherwise might not have seen, or things that
Mhm.
from cultures they might not have been exposed to. So it's like you say, I mean, it's complicated like everything,
Yeah.
but it's not a, well, and I guess as you and the article say, I don't know if it's 1,000% a good thing, but it's, on balance, I think it's a good thing.
Yep. Yep. I saw it and I thought it was interesting and I was like, I have some thoughts I would like to express. And that's about all I got on that one.
That's pretty good.
Makes me want to go to a Target though.
um, you know, Okay, so let's do. So this isn't really. I don't have a segue here, so I'm just gonna run with it. Is that okay?
Yes, do it.
So this is from a piece in NPR, although a few places were reporting on this.
I
This is
think
from
we
an
brought the same one.
Oh, did we?
I think so.
All right. Okay. Well, I'll set it up and then I'll give it
Do
to
it.
you. Ready? So this is from an NPR article. This is from an NP. Let's just call
We're
it
on the radio.
let's just call them NPR articles. You know what the saddest thing is?
What?
In non-COVID times when we're live, yes, you
Yes.
just roll with those things. We are being in COVID times. We are not 100% live, which means I could edit all this nonsense, but probably not gonna.
Yeah,
So
no, why?
this is what I'm gonna start calling an NPR article.
That's great. I love it. I love a portmanteau.
You can now ask Google to take your personal data out of its search results. This is an article by someone named Bill Chappell. But
Yep.
again, this was reported in multiple places. Heather, tell us about it.
Yes. Well, this is pretty exciting. As the article is entitled, you can now ask Google to take your personal data out of its search results. And there's a screenshot in the article I printed out of a little box that you can apparently access on Google where you can remove your personal info like ID numbers and private documents. You can take down contact info like addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, a government issued ID number, a bank account or credit card number, handwritten signature and images of ID docs, a restricted personal medical doctor, or confidential login credentials. And my understanding is this does not remove this information from the internet. It means
Right.
that the information can merely not be accessed via Google, which I presume means if you still use Yahoo or Ask Jeeves or Dogpile or one of those other search engines, you can access this information. So it does say in the article, please note if this stuff is out on the internet, try to get it removed from the site where it's hosted, because just because Google isn't pointing people toward it anymore doesn't mean it's gone away.
Right. And it doesn't even mean that Google's not pointing people to the site. It just means that Google's not pointing people specifically to your information on that site. So it's 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 helpful in a lot of ways, but it is limited. And they do say, as you say, it's a it's a it's a small thing, but a big thing, I guess. It's significant. It doesn't solve the problem, but it does give you some options at least. And yeah, and there's a fairly easy form to fill out. And I think what I was unclear about this, and maybe this made more sense to you. Um, So when I fill out this form, because it says, so I'll quote this from the page here. So this is what I was a little unclear about. Anyone wanting to submit a removal request can use a special online form that walks users through the process. It asks for things like the URL of any web pages displaying your personal data, along with search terms and URL of the Google search you use to find those pages. It also recommends including screenshots. So does this call for specific? So if I say please remove say I my government issued ID number, I'm just picking one of the
Uh-huh.
things from the
Yeah.
does it only remove it from the specific places that I ask it to, or does it remove that government issued ID number from any place it finds it? And by removing, I mean with the caveat of what we've said before. It's not removing it from from the internet or from the website.
Right.
It's just removing it from Google search results.
So I would think if you have your government issued ID number up on
Mm-hmm.
10 different websites, you
Mm-hmm.
need to provide the URL to each of those 10 different websites, as well as perhaps a screen cap of how the number appears on the page.
Okay.
I think if you only tell Google, don't talk about this one, it'll only not talk about that one.
Okay. So, you know,
Yeah,
a
and
little bit of a pain, but
it
if you,
it did
I think it's more of a,
sound it sounds like a lot of work.
well, I mean, I guess, I guess my initial reaction when I was reading about this earlier was that this was a broad solution. It sounds like it's more of a solution to specific problems. Like
Mhm.
if you're having a specific issue about something, if you have a specific awareness that your information is on this site and it's causing problems,
Right.
this is something you can do about that. I think it sounds like, and maybe I don't want to understand it 100% correctly how it's meant to work, but it sounds like it's not so much of a broad get my information out of Google solution.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. And it does say, even with the changes, there's still a few reasons Google might deny a removal request. They mainly deal with information that's deemed broadly useful or part of a public record, such as
mhm.
newsworthy data or material that's posted to government sites or other official outlets. Which also, I have to say, I don't understand that statement in this context. Like, how
Well,
would my address be newsworthy?
well, it could be though. I mean, I guess if you're,
I mean, it could be.
I mean, you know, if you're, if you're, if you're, let's say you're Donald Trump.
Okay.
Let's say it's 2017 and you're Donald Trump. And if you go on here trying to get the White House the White House address removed from Google
Okay.
because you don't like people, you're tired of people sending you letters.
Okay.
I think that would be,
I understand. That
I
was a
would
good one.
assume this
Thank
is,
you.
you're welcome.
That helped me
and, so,
understand it.
and a believable scenario, like something you could kind of see happening, right?
That was a
Yeah.
really good one. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Very well done. Do
Thank you.
you ever Google yourself?
I have not on the regular.
I do it often enough. I kind of go through spates where I wonder what's out there about me.
Hmm.
Because of course, if you like, there's a lot of stuff about this very show, The Sound of Tomorrow, and
Okay.
that's all perfectly fine. But I really don't like those kind of public record search ones
Right.
where I mean, I've found really detailed ones and I've tried to get this information removed, but like full addresses of
Yeah.
where I have and do live, phone numbers, relatives, names, people who are possibly associated with me. It, just a lot of information that I know is part of public record, but it feels weird that it's just out on the internet.
Yeah. I mean, well, and this is something that in our careers as jobs we've had at the same place in the past, you know, one of our that was something that sort of information privacy was something we dealt with, and it is a I don't know, it's just a weird world we live in that yes, the information is public. It is a
Mm-hmm.
matter of public record. Someone could go to City Hall or whatever and get that information. It does seem very different when someone can just type in your name and get that information in 5 seconds. Even though yes, someone could have that information. The
Right.
fact that someone has to go to zero effort to get it is, yeah, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. It makes me very uncomfortable, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And so I've been to a lot of those sites and submitted the like, please remove my stuff. But
Hmm.
there's just so many of them. And then I don't know because sometimes you run across those sites where they're like, oh, get the person's full profile. Oh, just
Right.
sign up here, just pay X amount of dollars. And
Right.
I'm not quite paranoid enough to have done that. So I don't even know what that does.
Yeah, well, and again, I think it's that deeper level of that public information, and it's yeah, I mean, even because I use ancestry.com a lot, and sometimes I'll look up stuff on, sometimes I'll look up stuff on myself just for fun, and even ancestry.com has, ancestry.com has fairly limited information as far as people who are alive,
Mm-hmm.
but limited means like it still has like old addresses of places I've lived because it's all just
Yeah,
easy internet search stuff. So, yeah, it's interesting.
it is.
I
It's
have
disconcerting.
I've used it to find to remember old addresses of mine that I'd forgotten where they were. And then I mean, so the downside is anyone with ill intent can look up your information and find out everything they could possibly need to know about you. The upside is you can remember an old address from when you were a kid and then go on Google Maps and look at the street view and remember your old house. So
that that's nice.
there are pros and cons
Yeah, that's true.
of
Uh,
this world we live in.
I know. But so I'm gonna go ahead and say taking your personal information off the web is a good idea. And
Which
there's also a Google change to this is another thing that's always kind of worried me a little bit.
Mhm.
Google also recently changed its policy on photos of minors.
Oh, okay. I'd like to hear about this.
Yeah, Google is expanding its policy around protecting the personal information because users requested the change.
According to
Oh,
Brainly.in,
stop it. My phone heard me talking and it woke up to explain something to me.
You know what the bane of my life is?
Yeah.
I call Ileana Sweetie
Yes.
because
Oh,
I'm very gendered in the way I refer to my dog. So, he's Buddy and she's Sweetie, and that's just where we are. But
they're your dogs. You're allowed.
thank you.
Nigel's my little man,
um,
aka man pants.
but every time I do that, my phone thinks I'm saying, "Hey Siri."
Yeah. Everybody else's
So
phones just woke up when you said that.
yeah, exactly. So sorry, everyone. But so it's nonstop. I'm just trying to love my dog, and
Yes.
my phone decides I want to talk to it.
So
But sorry.
the search engine we were discussing that will wake up my phone if I speak its name, um, said that there's a change that allows minors or their caregivers to request that images of minors be removed from search results. And I know that's a bit of a debate amongst parents these days,
Yeah.
whether to post pictures of their babies and stuff, for example, kids who are too young to give consent to have their
Right.
images posted. And I do find that interesting. I've never once asked Nigel for his consent before
Right.
posting a
On
picture of him
anything.
on the internet.
On anything.
I
Yeah.
mean, like, yeah,
It-
I'll
it-
just kind of scoop him up.
it's because you still haven't learned cat sign language, which is frankly shocking
I've learned a
at this
little
point.
cat sign
A little
language.
bit.
Yeah, I know a little bit. But I like that. I know when we post our videos to YouTube, our videos of this radio show, which are available on YouTube, it always asks me if it's made for children and if there are children in it. And though we are quite youthful, I always say there are not
Sure.
children in it, nor is it made for children.
No, not particularly. No, that's interesting. And I always sort of wonder I don't know what I would do if I were a parent. I mean, I sort of like the idea of saying I'm not going to put pictures of my kids up online for all sorts of reasons. But then I'd also want to,
Right.
like that's what social media is sort of for, like show everybody pictures of the kids and whatever. So
Right.
I don't know.
It's
That's a tough
tough.
thing. Like I said,
It
I
really
like the
is.
idea. I like the idea that I would take a hard stance on like, no, I'm not going to put pictures of my kids on the internet, at least until they have, for some, some nebulous child safety reasons, but also just, to wait until they can consent and put their own pictures up, and then they won't have to worry about it. But again, I don't know. I say that, and I probably would not stick to that.
I
And then
know.
everybody else is going to put, like what do you do when Aunt Martha's putting up pictures of your kids because they were over at her house? What do you do? Are you yelling at everybody else? So I
Mm-hmm.
like so many things in the internet age that maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you would have said like, oh, well, that is terrible. That is an absolute 1984 Brave New World Handmaid's Tale scenario that I would never, ever, ever allow to happen. And if we get to that world, I'm going to live in a bunker. And then you're like, if it's on the internet, so what? I guess what am I going to do about it?
Yep.
There's so many of those things that you just kind of wind up caving to because you're like, I'm tired. I
Yes.
can't.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yes. There was a time when I would not buy things off of the internet. I didn't trust it.
That was 2018. Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I
Yeah.
think it's probably fine. I think the best way to deal with that is try to lock down your security settings.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the best thing to do is. I feel I guess I've surrendered to, what's the thing about accepting the things you can change, and
Yes.
I feel like I've surrendered to my powerlessness.
Yeah.
I've I've given myself over to a higher power, which I guess is, I don't know, Jeff Bezos or whatever.
Yeah. And
So
I have even posted pictures of your dogs to my social media.
yeah,
I mean, that's, it's Aunt Martha all over again.
Ludovic absolutely consents to that, so it's fine. I don't know about Ileana, but Ludovic definitely consents to that.
We got
He's
lots
happy
of
to have.
likes, all of us.
He wants pictures of him everywhere. So,
That's so cute. So I've
um,
run through all of my notes because I didn't realize when you were talking about information security and I was talking about the search engine that will wake my phone up if I speak its name. I didn't realize right away that we had the same thing.
well, that's our show then. You know what? I've got one more thing, and then maybe we'll do some
All right.
spontaneous hot picks. This is a very rare episode in which we've actually gotten through our stuff. Heather,
Amazing.
you know what? You know what's a big old pain in the butt?
What's a big old pain in the butt?
Student loans.
Oh my gosh, you're telling me.
Ugh. So this was something that was talked about in the campaign, and people have been saying,
Yes,
"Hey, Joe Biden, what's up with student loans?"
they
We were
sure as
talking
heck
about that
have.
during the campaign, and Joe Biden's like, "I don't know, I'm doing other stuff." That's how he talks, and that was my impression of Joe Biden. And but there is movement on the issue of student loans, and student loans are an issue for whatever reason that the White House has a lot of authority to take sort of semi-unilateral action on. So there's, there've been, and I think this is one of those things where, as much as I am on the page with people who have been like, do something on this,
Uh huh.
I also understand on a practical level, like it's a whole lot of money we're talking about that affects a whole lot of things and a whole lot of people. So I do, if you tell me we've been gathering reports and studies on this, I'd still say like, let's do this faster because this is impacting people's lives. But I also say like, okay, I do get maybe this is not
Mm-hmm.
something you can do in 5 minutes, but there is movement. There is movement afoot on cancellation of student loans. So apparently within the next few weeks, and I guess some of the issues that there are being discussed, there is something coming as far as that goes. I guess some of the things that they're talking about, and this, by the way, this is being reported broadly, but I'm looking in particular at a CNBC article entitled "How Much in Student Debt Could Biden Forgive? Here's What's on the Table" by Annie Nova. So again, but you can look at this, you can see this news in a lot of places. Um, so they're talking about, I don't know if they're talking about whether or not to limit it to well, they're talking about how much how much student loan would be forgiven. So
Oh.
um I guess the number that's on the table, the number that's on the table is something under $50,000. So I guess what's on the table right now is canceling something less than $50,000. So that's one piece of that. Don't know how much, that's a broad. So
Okay.
anywhere from $1 to
Right.
$49,999. So plan your finances accordingly if you've got student loans. And then the other piece of this is, I guess they're discussing whether, and if not, how to limit it to people who made a lot of money last year, basically. So putting a sort of an income restriction on it, in the sense that if you made, one of the numbers that's floating around is like, over, if you made over $150,000 last year, and that's just, I guess this would be floating, ongoing. But if you made over $150,000 last year, maybe you wouldn't be eligible, or you wouldn't be eligible for the full
Okay.
amount. Um,
Interesting.
so this is all interesting. I'm all for me, I'm all for anything and everything. This would be, I mean, this is not, again, I will give a little bit of credit to the administration in the sense that, um, I guess this is something like this will cost something like $1 trillion
Wow.
at the if it's around the $50,000 mark. So, you know, but that wipes out student loans for about 80% of people if that's the case. So,
Mm,
it's not it's not cheap. I'm all for it. I'm all
me
for
too.
anything and everything. And you see so many people. So I had, I my student loans probably took me not quite 20 years to pay off.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Maybe
Yeah, I
maybe
think I remember
18
it.
years.
Yeah, it wasn't all that long ago that you were like, finally.
No, it wasn't. It was not all that long ago. Yeah, that's a thing. So, and there are a lot of people who are like, well, I spent all this time paying off my student loans, and why should other people get a thing? And I have nothing. I have, on on a lot of things, I try to see other people's point of view. I have zero respect for the logic of,
Yeah.
I
Well,
had cancer, so why should other people's cancer be cured? I mean,
yeah.
it does, my,
That was the meme I
my
was going
grandma
to
had
bring up.
gout. Why should other people get a gout medicine?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yep. I've seen I beat cancer. If they come up with a cure for cancer tomorrow, I'm going to be so mad. This is
Right.
about student loans. And I think it sums it up perfectly.
Hmm.
Like, yes, was it bad? Like all of the people who took 20 years and scrimped and saved and lived under the burden of student loans? Yes. Why would they then want other people to suffer
Right.
under that? I mean, I will say I was so lucky and so spoiled because my parents paid for college for me. And I'm forever grateful. I never had student loans, nor did they. It was amazing, and I know that that's super unusual. I'm super super duper hashtag blessed, and as I said, very
Sure.
grateful. I would
YOLO.
not ever. That's right. I would not take that for granted. Um, but there is there's a very childish little id part of me that is going like, I don't get anything.
I
I can
absolutely.
I can honor that little id part of me that goes like, I want stuff. I want candy. Give it to me. It's like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. You can want what you want, but come on. Like, let's
Yeah,
have
well,
some freaking logic about this, some compassion, some understanding, some like real thinking.
well, that's it. That's the petty voice. I mean, yeah, even in the cancer example, like if I had struggled through cancer and either just got over it or had a family member who didn't, I don't mean to make this super morbid, but just to carry the logic through, I guess, or had a family member who passed from cancer and they came out with a cancer cure tomorrow. There'd be a
Mhm.
part of me that would be like, what the hell? You couldn't have done this,
Yeah.
or, but I guess I would say like, you couldn't have done this sooner. I wouldn't say like, let's put the
I know
cancer
that
cure
too.
away.
That's true. That's true. You should
you
make
know,
everybody have cancer.
so I don't even know if that logic works. I mean, yeah, I get it. Like, they if they cancel people's student, I mean, it was not that long ago, but enough time had passed. Like if I had just finished paying off my student loans and then like tomorrow they were like, we're canceling all the student loans, I'd be like, really? Come on. You couldn't have
Yeah,
even knocked off a couple months. But also, again, that's the petty part of you that's, you're not going to get everything in every program. Like not
I
every
know,
government
right?
thing is going to benefit you. And I really think too, I don't think, people talk about this like it's charity. And I think, I believe sincerely, for all sorts of reasons. I mean, but I believe an educated population benefits us all. I think anyone who's educated, I think that benefits our entire society in all
Mhm.
sorts of ways, concrete and ephemeral. So I don't begrudge anyone getting an education, and I don't think anyone should have to be in debt for the rest of their life. And I know, like with my student loans, my God, it was so limiting. There was no, and this is like our medical system works sort of the same way. And I think this is part of the reason why people don't want to see student loans go away. Um, it's so limiting when you have a financial restriction like that. And again, our medical system is the same way. You think about like, oh, I'm going to go off and start my own business. Now I don't have health insurance.
Mhm.
And the moment I quit my job, I'm immediately sunk into debt because I've got a two, three, four, $500 payment every month for these student loans. So you have no ability to, it's sort of locks. These are the things that sort of lock people into the traditional 9 to 5. I can't lose this job. I can't quit this job and do something else because I'm the moment, it's not like I do that and I go to zero, or it's not like I do that and I have money
Mhm.
saved up. Those bills keep rolling in. Um, it impacts your credit, even if you're paying to be that much in debt, even if you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. that can impact your credit. So there are just so many reasons why it's not useful as a society, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make sense. I mean, people, yes, you can, there are things you can do that are cheaper. So yes, you can make smart choices. You can go to community college, maybe. Um,
Mm-hmm. Even that's
community
pretty
college doesn't,
expensive, though.
even that's pretty expensive. And those things can impact your career choices, not necessarily because of, the need to go to a name school, although that can be a thing, but community college might not have community colleges might not have the programs that you are looking for in your career. So again, I'm like, let's do something about the student loan situation, because for again, so my college education, when I went to college, which was 3.5 years ago now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when I was 20, as you'll recall, I I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of, I came out, and this was with scholarships. Like I had good things. I mean, I came out well over $100,000 in debt,
Oh
and that
my
was, I'll just say that was
gosh.
20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking with
So
the talking
so
about
it's
canceling.
not gotten better.
Right.
Like,
And that's what I'm wondering about with canceling the student loans. Like that seems like one component to me. But I maybe there's something I just don't understand about how people are coming out with a 4-year degree and like $500,000 in student loans. Why
right,
is it so expensive?
right.
I don't understand even like even like you said, the big name schools, maybe the places where one would specialize in something. I don't get how it costs so much.
And that's
I just
undergrad, you know.
Right, that's just undergrad coming out with a 4-year degree.
Mhm.
Um, I don't get it. When I went to school a million years ago, because for every year I age forward, you age one backward.
Correct.
That's how it works on The Sound of Tomorrow.
It's very astute.
Um,
Yeah.
but it wasn't nearly that much. I want to say SUNY schools were like $4,000 tuition a year, which was still, when I was a young person, that was quite a lot of money.
Right.
Still is quite a lot of money if you ask me. I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
But
That's when $4,000 was real money. I mean,
right, right. But I just don't get how, and I should look up what it costs per year to go to the SUNY school I went to.
mhm.
Um, because I think it is quite a bit more expensive now, more expensive
Yeah.
than one would think, looking at the amount of time it's been since I graduated, which is like 50 to 70 years. It's a blur.
Yeah. Well,
But I
and
really don't get why it's so expensive. And then I start thinking like, all right, if it's really that expensive, shouldn't we have lots of government subsidies for education?
yeah, well, and either a college education is useful or not. I mean, we seem to have decided as a society that college education is useful. Jobs want it. We've decided that, high school isn't enough for, to prepare people for, the types of technological jobs and all the sorts of
Mm-hmm.
things we've got coming along. Plus, then you've got specialties that are always evergreen, sort of evergreen jobs like doctors and lawyers and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, where you need even more. So either a college education is an important component of educating um, useful citizens, and I'm not saying you have to go to college. I'm not saying you have to go to, to be useful, you have to go to college. I'm not saying to be useful, you have to have a college degree or that there are no other paths. But on the whole, we seem to have decided as a society that college is useful.
Yep.
And a lot of businesses have decided that college is useful to the point where, no, we won't even consider hiring you without this college degree. But then we make it nearly impossible to pay for. Either extortionate for people who are sort of on the borderline of being able to um, pay that, in the sense that they're paying it out over years, or it's just impossible because there are people who, no matter what their academic qualifications, even when you throw in scholarships, when something's hundreds of thousands of dollars, how much can you knock off? And you know, you can knock off an awful lot of that and it's still not affordable. You
Yeah.
can
And
knock off 90% of that and it's still out of people's range. So
Well, and then even though, and I will say I love education. I think a college education is a good thing. It does also frustrate me how, for example, you and I have worked at a couple jobs together where
Mm.
we absolutely did not need college degrees to be working those
No.
jobs because almost everything was on the job training. There was no way our college courses could have prepared us to be doing that kind of work
Right.
because it was so very specialized. And I find that in a lot of jobs, I talk to a lot of people who are like, no, no, my degree doesn't help me. No, I don't need a degree to be doing this job.
Yeah.
And like the jobs that I'm talking about that we were at, they took skill, they took being able to learn to use the systems. I'm
Mm.
not saying that, we didn't use our brains, I guess, but we didn't need our degrees to be working at those jobs. And
No.
I always get frustrated with that when I see so many positions that require a degree when I know full well there's no degree anybody could have studied that would
Yeah.
have done anything to prepare them for that job.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you see that all the time, oh, requirement, bachelor's degree. And you'll look at the job and you're like, why? What does it matter?
Right.
What would it possibly matter? And if someone's got the, even in cases where people have the experience or, you, you won't take someone who's got experience doing exactly the job you're looking for, but you will take someone who has no experience and a college degree. So that's all very weird to me. And I don't know that businesses are benefiting from that mindset because we've both been in corporate America. You see the kind of turnover and you see the kind of people that get hired because they have academic, they have sort of college credentials,
Mm-hmm.
but not much else. And you see
Right.
what and it's not, not even to say a particular kind of person, but just people who don't have the, the degree is valued so much more than the skill set.
Right, which it's very, very frustrating. And I think that it's also stigmatizing in society
Yeah.
because you get perfectly bright and capable people who some employers won't even look at them because
Right.
they don't have a piece of paper that showed they could show up for 4 years and maintain a reasonable enough GPA to get said piece of paper.
Right.
And so there's so many things about it that I find frustrating, even though again, I'm very grateful my folks put me through school and that was wonderful of them. So I know that I'm speaking from a place of extreme privilege in that. But I can't even tell you for how long I've been like, why do all these jobs require a 4 year degree?
Right.
It's not
And
necessary.
if they do, and if that's going to continue being the case, then let's make it accessible to people.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I
I
would say ideally we would just make going to college, if people choose to, accessible and affordable to those who choose to go.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I mean, we certainly pay enough taxes. Just continue it like high school, make
Well,
it so people can do it if they want to. But also, I would say employers could probably work to their own better benefit to hold less strictly that you need to have some kind of 4 year degree to apply for
right,
this position.
right.
I think they're missing
Absolutely.
out on good candidates.
Absolutely. And, again, I think that education is beneficial. And I think, college education is beneficial. It's not beneficial to everybody. It's not necessary for everybody, and there are other paths to success for different
Hmm.
people and different people with different skills and interests and all that. I think we should be more open to the different paths that people can take in life. But
Absolutely.
but again, if we want to value education, if we say we value education, which I guess we don't really, we don't really say that anymore. I think we used to say that. We don't really say that anymore.
Yeah, maybe
I
we
think
don't say that anymore.
I think at this point we're saying we definitely, as as a country, we've gotten to the point where we're saying we
Yeah,
definitely do not value education, but we kind of should.
yeah,
And that being
we
the case,
don't
we should
value it
make
and yet get it and pay for it for the rest of your life.
right,
And you can't get a job without it, even though it doesn't mean anything. And we're going to keep a
even though it
lot of it
doesn't mean
from you.
anything. Yep. And we're screaming about we don't like the things you're learning.
Yes.
but
It's-
but we're not going to hire you unless you've learned them. I don't know. So again, as a I will plant my flag as somebody who ran the gamut of paying off those student loans. Good. I hope nobody ever has to again.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I would love that. That
It would
nothing
be
would
really
make me
good.
happier. Short of like, I don't know, if they sent me a check for all the student loans I'd pay back, sure, I would take it. I'm not saying I wouldn't cash that check, but so that would be number one. But a close second would be nobody else having to
I
nobody
know.
having to pay theirs. Close, very close second.
So complete and total segue for the last couple minutes here, Ross. I have information you might desire.
Oh, all right. I'm ready. Hit
I
me.
made cauliflower steaks over the weekend because you were talking about them last week before we started recording. And I looked up a recipe, and they're easy and delicious.
I did the same thing and I've done it twice. So
Really? I
what
only
did
did
your
it once.
what did your recipe have on it?
My recipe was just a sprinkling of olive oil, salt, and pepper, and it called for garlic powder. So I did one with garlic powder, and I did one with garlic powder and one with the Frank's Red Hot powder.
Okay.
Because cauliflower was on sale. So you know me and my shopping. I got a lot of cauliflower. And so I cooked up 2 heads of it. What did yours have?
It had those
Oh, the
what are they called?
capers.
The pepperdew peppers and the capers and some Parmesan cheese. So, but you can
I
do
did get
so.
Parmesan.
So a cauliflower steak, everybody, real quick, and this is we will leave you with this. So go
This
go
is the
home and
most important information we've given this
go home and
episode.
make your dinner. So a cauliflower steak, if you are chopping up your cauliflower into little pieces, you can knock it off, because Heather and I both learned at the same time that you can just chop that cauliflower head in half and then cut off the ends on the other side and do whatever you want with the other ends, steam them or whatever, and then you can just throw that giant slab of cauliflower onto the thing and bake it, and it's fine. You don't need to cut all the little stuff off. You can like leave the big you can leave the stem part. It's fine. Just eat it that way. It's great, and it's so much easier.
Yep, it was really good. And all the little bits that fell off, I just threw them on the cookie sheet with the steaks and let whatever happened to them happen. They were delicious. They were just little bits, and I ate them. But it was easy.
This has been Cauliflower Talk with Ross and Heather. We'll be back next week where we'll be talking about braised asparagus.
Ooh.
So stay tuned. Coming up next on WAYO 104.3 FM Rochester is more great stuff. And we will be back next week. We love you.
We do.
Not most of you. Wow. Okay, what happened to your hair?
My hair, my skirt, my couch, my cupboard, all trashed, Ross.
Jeez, what happened?
Oh, Nigel happened, Ross. Nigel happened.
Oh, your sweet, deaf little white, I guess, well, now calico cat?
Calico kitty in one universe, Ross. In this universe, Brindle Wolverine.
Oh God.
I have a Brindle Wolverine.
Multiverse of madness.
Because you're angry, right?
No, I think Wolverines are cute.
Do you